The mic on? The mic is on this time, so that's good. This is the second time I'm filming this episode. One of these days I'll actually remember to turn on my mic. Maybe, probably not. Hello! Today I am drinking my coffee out of my favorite mug from one of my favorite people. Hi Timber. Today we are doing a comparison between Spun by Brandy June and Rumplestiltskin, the original from Brothers Grimm. First of all, before we get into it, I'm just going to show you guys this book. I think it's adorable. Everybody needs to see it. The inner cover is just so pretty. I love this gilding. And then, of course, they have a nice little yellow sprayed edge here. Signed copy. Look at that. And then let's look at the desk cover while we're at it. There is that on the inside here. Minor spoiler, but not really a spoiler. If you've read Rumpelstiltskin, you know the story. There's the king. Okay, it's kind of a spoiler, so I'm going to hold. All right, are you still here? If you want to go read Spun, go away. Okay, moving on. This is Rumpelstiltskin, and this is our main protagonist, and there's the king. So very pretty inner cover. I love this. Let's move on to the book comparisons. First of all, in the original story of Rumpelstiltskin, we have the miller. He goes to the king and makes the claim that his daughter can spin gold. So the king says to the miller, "That is an art which pleases me well. If your daughter is as clever as you say, bring her to the palace, and I will try what she can do." So he sends her along. Right off the bat in Spun, we don't see any parents, any miller in the story at all. For the main protagonist, her parents have passed on due to a war between the Fae and the mortal realm. She has turned to a life of petty thievery and taught her brothers to do the same in order to make ends meet. So she runs into the prince in the forest and steals his gold ring. Along with this, she meets our Fae in the forest and saves his life. Here she ends up with a golden ring around her wrist, which allows her to call upon the fairy in times of need. In both cases of the story, our king and our prince are skeptical that this woman can in fact spin gold, and they both get locked into a tower where they must prove themselves. Our main character is at a loss of what to do. She's locked in the tower, she's doomed to die, or in Spun's case, she's doomed for exile if she cannot complete this task, and her whole family is doomed. In Rumpelstiltskin, Fairy appears. He says to her, "Mistress Miller, why are you crying so?" And our girl says, "Alas, I have to spin straw into gold, and I do not know how to do it." "What will you give me?" said the mannequin, "if I do it for you?" "My necklace," says the girl. The little man took the necklace, seated himself in front of the wheel, and whir, 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 3 turns, and the reel was full. Then he put another on, and whir, 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 3 times around, and the second was full too. And so it went on until the morning, when all the straw was spun, and all the reels were full of gold. This goes on for another 2 days, and each time the mannequin comes back, he agrees to help her complete her tasks and spinning this thread into gold as the king keeps moving her from room to room and making her repeat the task. In Rumpelstiltskin, the girl agrees to get rid of her necklace, she agrees to get rid of her ring, and then she finally, on the 3rd night, agrees to give away her firstborn child. And on the 3rd morning, when the king arrives and sees that all of the work is done, he takes her hand in marriage. So a year goes on, and she is now the queen, and our main character here has the most beautiful child. In her joy, she forgets that the mannequin will come back, and come back he does, and he takes her child. The queen begs, she says to the mannequin, "Please, oh please, I'll give you anything that you want, all the riches in this kingdom to give me back my child." And he agrees, but she has to figure out his name. And so she starts calling him by every single name she knows, Casper, Melicor, Balthazar, and none of them worked. Sleepshanks? Short ribs? This goes on for many days. The name Casper is kind of interesting because Casper is in fact the name of our prince in Spun. In Spun, we only see one night where she has to prove herself, and the prince has already agreed to take her hand in marriage if she can prove. gold spinning gifts to be true. In this rendition of the story, Pell, or Rumpelstiltskin, has offered to take Nor, for that is her name in the story, to the fairy realm to be free of a life of thievery and a life of lies, and to escape the human realm, for whom he thinks all humans are evil. So, in this story, she has to choose between a life of riches as the queen and lying, or she can choose the fairy realm. Another spoiler here. She chooses the king for no reason. Because she loves him, of course. Even though he threatened her entire family and herself, she chooses the king. That's when our book gets extra dark. In our story, Gold Spun, she gets all of the riches. She's taught royal etiquette. And somewhere during her training, there's some other things that happen, like Pell's brother comes in and he's evil. He's evil. And when she calls Pell to save her, he doesn't come, so she's now mad at Pell. Pell comes back a few months later and he says, "Let me take you away from here." And she says, "No, I'm in love with the king." And we say, "Oh my God, why would you choose the king when you could move to fairyland?" Why? Especially because we have a description of a prince who looks a lot like Geralt of Rivia in my mind. Long, shiny golden hair, cat eyes, and he has fairy wings. And yet, spoiler alert, she chooses Casper instead of the fairies. In the book Gold Spun, on the night of the coronation of our king, Pell comes back, frustrated that he did not end up with the girl. And in his anger, he leads the queen of the fairy realm to battle at the mortal castle. And everybody is slaughtered. And it is terrible and gross. And now King Casper and Nor are captured and taken to a fairy encampment, where along the road, Nor hears the name Rumpelstiltskin. Earlier in their story, she learns that Fae can be controlled by their true names. So she uses this to her advantage to escape. And she instructs Rumpelstiltskin to burn down the encampment. And our story ends with Rumpelstiltskin very much wanting to eradicate the entire royal family and get revenge. In our original tale, there is another place where fire is important, and that is where we find our Rumpelstiltskin in the middle of the night, hopping around, singing a song. And in our original tale, we hear, "Today I break, tomorrow I brew, the next I'll have the young queen's child. Ha! Glad am I that no one knew that Rumpelstiltskin I am styled." And so she takes this little song and she realizes his true name is Rumpelstiltskin. So in the morning, and she says to him, "Is your name Conrad?" "No." "Is your name Harry?" "No." "Perhaps your name is Rumpelstiltskin." "The devil has told you that! The devil has told you that!" And that is how our original story ends, and she gets her son back. Surprisingly, Brothers Grimm is less dark than Gold Spun. That really threw me. Anyway, that's our comparison between Rumpelstiltskin and Gold Spun. I recommend that you go out and you read this story. Have a good time. I'm going to throw this one up on my Pango, for it needs to be read by other people and not just left on my shelf to dust now that I've already read it. So it'll be on there for you if you'd like to go buy it from me. Have a good day. Happy Sunday.